Hello and welcome. So, I thought it would be quite useful to go through every single question of the theory paper in detail. So, we're going to go through question 1A, then another question on question 1B, and so on and so forth until we have a video for every single question, just so you can rehearse and practice for each individual part of the exam. Unfortunately, question 1A is probably the hardest question in the exam paper from a certain point of view. The other ones, if you've got a bit of musical knowledge, you can figure out. This one is the only one that requires absolute knowledge. You have to memorise them. So I found this lovely little document by Victoria Williams, who has quite a few YouTube videos as well. I'll put that in the description, as well as a link to this PDF. It's a 6-page PDF that goes through all of the Italian terms from grade 1 to grade 5. It also has the French terms, but we're just going to ignore them for the purpose of this exam, as well as the German terms. We only need to worry about the Italian terms. And the question could be, it's going to be about 5-6 questions where it just asks you, what does poco mean? And you have to know the answer. That's why this one's possibly the hardest, because you just have to know it. Although, of course, a lot of these words you can kind of work out based on what they mean in English. A lot of them are quite similar. And so we'll have a look. So the way to go through this, in my opinion, is to go through, print this off, and scribble on the paper what you think kind of how either a mnemonic or a cognate for how you're going to memorize it. So let's have a look at this first one. So this one's quite an easy one. It's a tempo, which is in time. So I know that tempo is the same as time. You know, what's the tempo is basically what's the kind of the timings for this piece. And so a tempo is in tempo, in time. So and it kind of, and that one would mean that if you've had a kind of slow down or if you sped up, you'll return to the original time, the a tempo. So let's have a look. This is a really easy cognate, meaning it's kind of the similar in English and in Italian. Accelerando. What does that mean? It means to accelerate. So that's a really easy one. If you see accelerando, you can already work out using just a bit of brain power that is going to mean accelerate, meaning getting quicker gradually. So let's have a look at one. Adagio. So here's a bit more of a complicated one. I couldn't think of a way to kind of cognate that into an English word. So let's try and turn it into something else. I think adagio. So just going to put in one extra little letter. So and so adagio is now adagio, and just having a look at that, it's got the word drag in it. So I'm going to remember, if I have that, adagio, I'm just going to put a little R in it and call it adagio, because it's got the word drag in it, so it's going to drag a bit. So I'm imagining if it says adagio, it's going to drag, so it's going to go slow. So if it's dragging, adagio. Let's go to allegro. This is a quick. So how does allegro mean quick? Oh, I don't know. That looks nothing like the word quick. So what I'll do is I'll do the same thing I did for adagio. Apart from I don't need to add any letters. I'm just going to draw a little leg, kind of running. Put some shoes on, some boots, and I'm just going to underline the word leg. And so to go to leg it, or to go fast, or quickly. So you're going to allegro. You remember, you use your legs, so you're going to run fast. And then allegretto, just etto, just means kind of small. So it's small quick or fairly quick, but not as quick as allegro. So let's have a look. Allegro. So we got that leg in it, so we know that it's going to be quick. Moderato. Well, I think we can work out that moderato is the same as moderately. So allegro moderato is legging it moderately. So, moderately quick. Andante means a medium walking speed. So walking. How would you turn this word into walking? Well, if you've ever read Dante's Inferno, if you haven't, I'll just give you a quick summary. A guy goes for a walk in hell, and he goes through all the different circles. So I'm just going to have Dante here, using my amazing drawing skills. There you go. And it's Dante going for a nice little walk in hell. There we go. So that's andante, just walking. And then let's go for another one, cantabile. So if you know your musical forms, you might know that a canata is a type of singing in Baroque style, or this is actually where the word comes from. It comes from a similar word for chant. So when you have like a Gregorian chant and you're singing, or you're at a football stadium and you're chanting, for whichever team you may support, you're chanting. So cantabile is kind of in a singing style, because it could just be chantabile. Let's just keep going. Let's go through quite a few of these. Crescendo, how could you memorize that? I always remember that I know what the symbol for crescendo is. It's that. And so you could have that as the C. And you could kind of turn the C in crescendo into being the kind of the crescendo hairpin sort of thing. Let's have a look. If you had this one, you know that crescendo is getting bigger, and decrescendo, just putting the D in the front of it. I mean, I guess you could go and have the hairpins and turn that into a D. But I think it's easier just to remember, if this is crescendo, decrescendo is just the opposite of crescendo. Da capo, let's have a look at that. What does that mean? Repeat from the beginning. What it actually means is repeat from the head, because cap, like the cap you wear on your head, just wear a quick baseball cap, or to decapitate someone, means to take off someone's head. So da capo is to the head. And del segno is very similar to the word sign. So let's just doodle something quickly. Let's have a sign. The sign says sign. Very pointless. But lovely. And so diminuendo. Well, it's diminished, kind of. It means it's kind of getting smaller. It's getting quieter. It's getting diminished. And it's also the opposite of the kind of it's very similar to diminuendo is the same as decrescendo, but it's different. So just the sound's becoming diminished, and it's becoming dim, like you would dim a light bulb. It's more like a mushroom or a chef's hat, but you would kind of have a kind of dimmed out light bulb. So I'll just scribble that in coloured. I don't know what that is anymore. But it's a dim light bulb, so it's getting slowly and slowly quieter. Fine means, it means the end. And you normally have that at the word fine at the end of, or it's normally fin. You get at the end of old style cartoons. But fin, it could also be finale or finale. However you want to remember that fine or fin is the end. Forte means loud. It doesn't actually mean loud. It means strong. And why does it mean that? Because it doesn't, if you think about the term forte in English, if you say music theory is not my forte, it means it's not one of your strong points. You're not very good at it. It's not your strength. So forte means you're not very strong at it. Also, if you have the word for two other words for a castle in English, you could call a kind of a very battle-ready castle a stronghold. And another word for that kind of stronghold would be a fortress. Because fort, or a fort, because a fort means a strong, a strong place to have, a stronghold. So fortress. As we're going, let's just go through the entire first grade together. Fortissimo, so that is strong. It's got the forte, but issimo, and if it's got issimo at the end, fortissimo, it's going to be extra loud, and it's FF, so it's double loud. It's very loud. Legato. Ooh, so how I tend to just memorize this one as being legato. It's a very, very smooth way of saying the word legato. But we'll come up with something more interesting for it. Legato. I'm trying to think of one, but it's just I just say the word legato, and I know that is kind of smooth. Whereas lento. Ooh, I've got one for this though. So, have you ever tried giving up anything for Lent? And you give up, chocolate, and then you realise just how slow kind of Lent is. And suddenly those few days of just giving up chocolate drags and drags and drags, and it's very, very slow as a process. That's lento. That's very, very slow time. It feels like it drags out. Mezzo, middle. So middle is how I remember that. So, or mid. Stuck in the mezzo with you. So mezzo just means half. So if you had, mezzo forte, it would be half strong. Or if you had mezzo andante, that would be half. Or it just means half. And so I remember that med is medium. It just looks mezzo, mid. It sounds kind of similar. Mezzo forte, there we go. Mezzo piano. It just means middle or moderately. It's kind of that kind of middle, half, moderate, in the middle sort of feeling. So moderato. Well, that's just another way to say moderate. Yeah, we've had allegro moderato before, so we already know that those are almost exact cognate, just slightly changing at the end. Where did we get to? Pianissimo, PP. This is just like our... actually, no, we haven't done piano yet. So piano. Remember, a piano is a very soft instrument. In fact, the reason a piano is called a piano is because they used to be called pianofortes, because unlike the harpsichord that came before them, harpsichord can't really change dynamics. They have really one dynamic, kind of that middle or mezzo kind of dynamic, whereas pianos were able to play softly and they were able to play strongly. So the pianoforte, and now we just call them the newest kind of design of piano, the piano. And so you just imagine a very, very softly playing piano. Or if you want something really vivid for the kind of imagination, because kind of coming up with these vivid ideas for it can help get it in your memory. Just imagine going to press down on a piano key and it's just a sponge, and you're trying to get the notes out, and you're in the middle of a performance, and every time you press a key, it's just a sponge and no notes coming out because it's very, very soft. It's not quite as soft. I mean, it is quiet, but technically it means soft. Because if you wanted to play the piano softly, you would press it more gently. You'd play it softly. Whereas to make an instrument loud, you have to play it strongly. And pianissimo, the issimo, we already know from fortissimo, means very. Poco, a little. How could you memorize that? Maybe you've got something little in your I'm going to spell it wrong just for the mnemonic. Pocket. So a poco. I've got. What have you got in your pocket? Is going to be very, very small. Your poco. So if you had a a poco allegro, then that would be a little quick. Let's have a look. Rallentando is gradually getting slower, and it's the same thing as ritardando. It means slow, retard, and rall. So how could you do that as a mnemonic? You might have a look at the ando and try and make something out of that, as that's in both words. Rit and rall, though, kind of come up as their own thing, so probably worth coming up with something for both. How could you memorize rall? I remember kind of a ralling or rolling ball. So it's going along and then it's slowly getting slower until it comes to a complete stop. So slowing, 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 stopped. So rallentando is kind of rallying along until it slows down and stops. And the same thing for ritardando. I just remember that rit and rall are the same thing. I'm not sure why we have two words for the same thing, but you know, both mean the same thing. Ritenuto, kind of held back. So you don't get. So one thing that you might do is get ritardando and ritenuto mixed up. So how could you riten? Held back. So riten. Just thinking. You hold a pen. And what do you do to a pen? You hold it. So if you, and what do you do with a pen? You write. So if you're doing something written, you hold your pen, you hold back. So ritenuto, held back. Whatever works for you. Come up with a mnemonic that works, be it something silly, like the drawing someone walking, or if it's something based on the actual word itself. Let's just keep going. Staccato. I think I'd memorize this one the same way I do the legato. I say staccato in a staccato and a detached manner. The other word is a way to memorize this is kind of, you could go for attack, attacco. Just attack. So you could attack each note individually. And tempo we've already done as the first thing for a tempo, which is just time. You know, it's the time of the piece, it's the speed. A little clock face. There we go. And so the reason I'm going to go through all of these, and I'd recommend you do the same for grade 1, grade 2. Remember only to do the Italian terms, as we won't be tested on the French and the German terms. But now what can happen is, if I just scroll down so we can't see any of these, let's go to about here. Right, so if I asked you what does... So you get into the exam hall and the question is, Andante. What does andante mean? Oh, how do you memorize that? It's either you know it or you don't, or you can take a guess. So how would I'd look at that and I'd go, oh, Dante. What does Dante do? Dante likes to go walking. So that's walking, or at a walking pace. What happens if I give you the term dal segno? Well, I'm guessing you've already pretty much worked out. You know that this is only, just got to change the dal segno into dal sino, and then you can know that it's sine, or it's oh goodness, not singing. Because in a singing style would be cantabile. So sine, and it's to the sine. And the sine, of course, is kind of that S, and it's got the dots and all around it. But that is how the exam works. So I would recommend printing this off, and the mnemonics I've come up with, you might go, oh, that's a great way to think about that. I never knew that fortress was the same word as stronghold. Whereas you might look at some of these other ones and you might go, that's a really stupid way of memorizing ritenuto. Why would you memorize it that way? And so I would recommend print this off and come up with your own mnemonics. It's going to be what works for you that gets you through this part of the paper. So I think that's enough on that. I won't go on to grade 2 and grade 3, but go through them and just kind of, hazard a guess, kind of come up with some way of, grave, very slow and solemn. That's very easy. Just imagine a grave, RIP. That's going to be very solemn. It's going to be, like a funeral march. Let's just pick another random one. Look, we can already go back to that one. Like chant, chantando, or chantando is just singing. We already know some of this stuff because it pops up again. Lent, that's just the same as lento. Oh wait, no, that's French. We don't need that. Whoops. But nobilmente, you can just imagine a crown. That's nobility. That's noble. Why am I drawing? Oh no, that is a type of crown, yeah. And just come up with some doodles and go through it. Foucault is fire. You can come up with to facile. You can think of, if you facilitate something, you make it easier. And it's just kind of going through and memorizing them in a way that's pretty stupid. The stupider the better. Just make it so that you can memorize them. So I think that's enough on the Italian terms. Let's go on to the other questions.